Hello and welcome to This and That. I'm Dave Lees.
And I'm Jonathan Byer. Hi.
Hi, welcome to the skating lesson. We're going to discuss everything going on in the skating world this week. So subscribe below and smash that like button and love us. Jonathan, you're back visiting your friends in Philadelphia.
And so I've been swimming all day. Here's the thing. Sunday is the one day a week I shampoo and condition my hair, and I realize that it coincides with this and that. And so I always feel like it's a little extra Bob Rossi when we do this and that, but sometimes it looks better on Patreon because it's in the middle of the week. So there you go.
Yes. And we just did another video on Friday night, in case you missed it, of the 80 Olympic ladies short program. Really fun. Jonathan was a little bit of a hater about one skater in particular.
And I think really oddly championed another. So, you know,
strange. Okay.
Yeah. We keep you guessing on Patreon.
We do. And we are going to complete the judging of the 80 Olympics on Patreon so that we can discuss a night that we once had in Minneapolis. So
yes, actually a couple,
right?
Yeah. Twin Cities, Sin Cities, Sin Cities.
Yes. It's funny. We've told other stories from St. That was an eventful nationals. That was
and arguably for its ups and downs, probably my favorite.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I think so in its own way. With the snowstorm that then kept us there even longer.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it was a whole situation.
Oh, my goodness. Yes, that was a nationals to remember. That was, wow. Oh, my God, I did a live show with Christine Brennan down
in the bowels of the arena. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a fun one. We'll regale.
Okay.
I should like start journaling ahead of time.
Any points that you would like to ask or hit about, we can.
Yeah. Yes. Just bring them up then. Okay, great.
Speaking of someone that was in there, friend to the show, and people in Chicago may know him, Brian Mueller got engaged.
Oh, good for him.
He is our little friend from Chicago who'll be like, you think? I can't do his accent right now, but yes. But there's a video of him, and it was the most Brian Mueller video where he was like, so like genuinely shocked about the engagement. And he was like, well, I think I'm getting lightheaded. And I was
my gosh, that's so sweet.
I had to rewatch it like a million times.
Yeah, that's really sweet.
So yes. And he used to be coached by Alex Arashev. So I said,
in the Gracie days, right?
Yes.
Weren't they there together?
Yes. Yeah. So anyway, anywho.
Well, a skating lesson, parabens.
Parabens. Right.
To him. Okay.
Yes. And I sent Alex Arashev, I said, Alex, Brian got engaged to a doctor. He's like, I would also like to get engaged to a doctor. Life has not worked out that
Probably a different doctor, but okay.
It's all okay. So
yeah. Okay.
We have a running joke with Alex Arashev, because I guess Brian's mom is a little bit, maybe ditzy is the right word to describe her. Very lovely, endearing, right? But she always would, think her kids were super talented. And it became a running joke where Alex would be like, I have seen many talented skaters in my day, but no one as talented as Brian Mueller.
Okay. Amazing.
Yes. So remember, I get a text from Alex Arashev every holiday. So,
which we love. You're on a list. We're
on a list of some sort.
Yeah.
Him and the synchronized swimmer Bill May, for whatever reason, he sends like puns that are
basically the same person. So.
Okay. Yes. All right. So lots of mini Russian dramas going on this week, but I just heard news coming out of Colorado that was a little bit shocking. Okay.
It's monumental news.
Monumental news. That was the pun.
Dun, dun, dun. Okay.
So our favorite pair coach, Delilah Sappenfeld, is leaving the World Arena.
Wait, we need one of those things where it's like Delilah. It needs to like come flash in as a graphic or something. Hi, Delilah. I just had to switch my pairs coaching job.
So she is moving to Monument, the former home of Corey Aid, which had all of the infamous Corey Aid programs, and parents said that the programs are really designed because it was maybe not the best deal. They rented out this really expensive ice rink for the entire day, and that's why they had all of these like arts and crafts. And remember when we were at Monument?
Team building, a lot of team building exercises.
Jenny and I were there. And like one of the important classes that they were doing at Monument was they were playing any music, and the skaters were interpreting the opening of their short program to that music. And then they would play different songs as it was going on. And you know, maybe that's a fun exercise, but seeing that these kids were at the rink all day with no, you know, school or social life, it seemed like maybe it was a little bit of a crock. So
lacking in substance, one might say.
It was really.
What they could have done is teach them how many double toe loops not to do in a long program. That
would have helped Mariah.
That could have been a useful way to use that too. Correct.
Oh,
full circle.
That was really bad because
she really thought she nailed it. And in a way she did.
She was crying for like an hour backstage when we saw, like that was horrible because she really dropped like 5, 6 spots because of that. So.
And no coloring project could help her through that, I think.
No.
Yeah,
no.
She just needed to process that as an adult.
Jonathan.
weren't your videos like of them coloring together? Come on, I remember the footage of those days. It was like everyone was dreaming, like you were coloring like trees with your dreams or something like that. Don't leave me out to dry. I know what I saw.
We made t-shirts where we wrote positive affirmations about each other and then wrote our fears on the inside.
So hold them close and don't show them?
You know, and it reminded me of reading about Mary Lee Tracy. And I just interviewed Alyssa Beckerman the other day. And it reminded, and Alicia Ingram, who also trained with Mary Lee. And one of the things Mary Lee talked about doing was that before a competition, they had the gymnasts write down their fears on index cards, and then they attached them to black balloons, and they released them into the air. But what I was thinking is, when you write something down, Jonathan,
you're committing it. You're committing it to the core memory.
You're committing it to the core memory, and it's that whole like brain to hand to thing going on here. So you're actually just reinforcing the negative.
If I had stuff like that before a performance or something, I'm like, oh, I know this voice. I was like, great. You know what? I will be with you in a moment. I need you to shut up. I need you to go away, and I will address you after I'm finished with this. So their take is the opposite.
This is why Peggy's mother thought that her method of sports psychology was Peggy was seeming nervous. I will then take the letters from this boyfriend of hers who is distracting her, rip them up, get her to cry, throw a tantrum, get all of her nervous energy out, and then compete.
Healthy as you can be. Totally great. Not dissimilar to the Mrs. Harding approach.
That's like Mrs. Harding. That's like a Terry. That is some positive psychology right there. So,
yeah.
You know,
again, I need the Frank. I need him to be like, well, you've always wanted to be here, and here you are. Go get him.
I always wondered when we were at Skate America, and I was going to call her Yulia. You know, they all blend together after a while. Those Terry girls. They really, they do.
But which one?
Anna Sherbakova was missing the quad lutz in the warm-up repeatedly. And it was like, and then she nailed both of them. And you just wondered, what happened backstage? We've seen those documentaries. That would have been a great time to be following a Terry to will her to victory.
Well, but that's where I think her strength could lie in whatever it is. I mean, again, I don't know if it's healthy, whatever it is, but.
I was rereading Dominique Moceanu's book the other day, and she said that she had made a mistake in the warm-up before the World Championships. So Bella decided to make her do her uneven bar routine 16 times in a row. And she kept making more mistakes because she was so tired.
Of course.
And then he thought that maybe she was making the mistakes because she had put on weight. So he then got a scale out in front of the entire team to weigh her. but she had actually lost weight. So he just kind of like moved away. You know, it seemed like a really positive coaching environment. I think we should all go into
that sadly worked if your goal was exclusively results. I mean,
she actually wound up making a mistake in the competition because I think she was so freaked out and exhausted from.
But even like you were talking about with your Victor jumping coach, like drills, that after a certain number, if you don't take the water break, if you don't reset for a moment, the more frantic and repetitive they become, the softer
they said that he always described it as being like there's a peak and then you like try to stay at a certain level and then eventually you're just going to taper off. So so it does make you wonder about the coaches that make you do certain numbers in a row, if maybe sometimes they have people do them too early. You know, when you kind of work up to the number, you have to like manage the goal number because you can't do it all the time. And then maybe you do, you know, people taper before competitions as part of peaking. And one of the things you do is you actually pull back, like maybe in the week before to 10 days, but you make sure that you have all the hard training and then you taper off in some of your numbers and things like that so that you're extra fresh yet full of the muscle memory and repetition for the competition so that you're sharp. And Elvis Stojko was talking about this. He was saying that a lot of people, you know, train too much before the competition and then you are actually wearing down. He described it as like 3 different things, but he was talking about like your muscle reaction time and your body just getting like, and mind getting physically exhausted. I'm not describing it right. I have to rewatch what he was saying.
I mean, it's making sense to me, but it's also part of
He was talking about your nervous system. Your nervous system gets wound down by, you know, doing the workload too much before. So it was an interesting thing. So, but that's
that's part of what we always see when we see certain athletes that would cram their training. It's because they started so late. It's not that there's not even enough time, but there's not enough time to come down from it and then go back up. Yeah.
I do know that when the gymnasts compete in college, they typically, a lot of the more successful coaches have them have days off, like maybe 2 days off after competitions, but they always have like 48 hours to recover because when you compete every weekend, you're just getting really physically and mentally exhausted over time. So they have different ways of managing that. And that's why they do a lot of their hard training earlier in the year. And then once they they're really just managing a certain level. So that's why in the Frank thing, and I think Tim Gable talked about this, that Frank's theory was to really always do a set program, have it planned, and make sure that whatever you're really hoping to do at the end of the year, you can do in September. So if Michelle was going to do the triple toe, she needs to be having that in her program, doing it successfully by the end of September so that she can then go out and do it at competition. And hopefully it was one of the years that she would do it at Skate America. And for Tim, that was doing the 3 quads, was to have it by the end of September, because otherwise you either won't have enough training time to make it consistent, or it'll just never get in the program because there's never any time. So. That was one theory, but so I would be curious if that works in a Terry's camp, because sometimes we see that they add in jumps throughout the season now, and obviously the sport has changed, but it's just Frank's theory. It's not the word according to God, you know, but this is one person who was successful. And it would be interesting to know if they are already doing all of the quads earlier and doing run-throughs, but then not in competition, and how they manage that. Because we did see when Trusova, who we're going to talk about today, tried to add in other jumps and try to add in the 5 quads, it wasn't successful. So there is, I think, something to at what point you...
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the only time like an element really showed up halfway through a season that really caught us off guard. Because even back in the day, I was thinking of Tuktumisheva's, because she didn't add it until the next calendar year. I think it was European.
And she'd also been doing that element in practice.
And that's what I'm saying. So that it had, I'm sure it was in her body by that September, for sure. In the same way we see Wakaba trying it all the time.
She may have had some legal, at the time, assistance. Yeah. I think Tonya Harding's triple axel, and I think for Tonya, again, she had a really hard time maintaining her mental and physical sharpness, and I think that she was not one for run through, so her performance was often up and down as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it killed me. You posted the 93 Skate America again. And you just see the short program and you're like, if you had skated that at Lillehammer, how different so many things could have been. But then for her to turn around with the same shenanigans when she got off to such a great start.
Well, I think too much had happened in her career by the time you get to Lillehammer. And we do talk about this a lot, but when you repetitively miss and make mistakes, I do think that judges have a perception of you that changes. And people may call that being robbed, but you're also doing it to yourself. Like when you're repetitively expecting someone to bomb.
When twice you have taken a break due to equipment so you can, because you're not trained enough to finish the program without collapsing. I mean, and you've now done it twice in a row and you're about to do it a third time at the Olympics. Like, it was such a shame because I was getting so down on Peggy because the commentary about her is so pointed. It's so rude. It's so condescending. And then she turns around and pulls the thing with the blade.
Yeah, I think it had just been a career. And I imagine that there was a lot of stuff behind the scenes because I think other competitions, there were things that happened. Everyone always tells me to find the 93 NHK. I know it's a video a lot of people are working. If you are around, if you're in Japan or you have this
video. It's always been missing, right? I've never seen anything.
What happened at the 93 NHK? I know that it didn't go well, right? Like it.
Yeah, she was there, but it was a really good lineup.
Everyone always asks me about the 93 NHK. So if you have this tape, if you are from Japan and you have this recording, you know, I will Venmo you to get it converted.
Yeah.
You know, and you could go to your Japanese CVS or whatever you have over there.
Yeah, it's Surya Bonali won.
Oh.
Because she won the long.
So that tells you a lot.
Yuka Sato won the short, and she was silver. Chen Lu was third. Tonya Harding was fourth because she was seventh in the long, and then fourth in the, or sorry, she was seventh in the short and fourth in the long.
And isn't that the one that happened before the competition where she called in her own death threat?
See, I thought that was
or her guys called in.
I thought that was at a regionals.
Well, I
thought that's when she was qualifying. Or sectionals, yeah.
So they might have bypassed her from regionals, but made her go through sectionals, and maybe that's what they did.
It could have been. I didn't know if it was in 92.
Again, this is some of the history of why Peggy may have had a pointed tone with Tonya. I think also her performance at the 92 Worlds and then the whole 92-93 season when she was never trained and I think given a lot of pro-am opportunities. What I think is interesting.
I still think it's bogus she was not sent to 93 Worlds though. Who in...
Okay, so I do think it's bogus.
Yeah.
However, I think they were trying to make a point, which
I know, but to what end? You give her third. Don't give her silver. Let Tonya have the Tonya Kwiatkowski have the silver. But
I mean, we all see retrospect, but they were all bad, right?
Yeah.
And Tonya had zero artists. I get it.
But
right?
Tonya at least was good, but just not trained.
I think they were trying to send her a message that we're not going to just put you on teams if you don't work hard. Now, that may have been the gentler. There may have been many people on that panel who felt, get rid of her. And there may have been others who were like, oh, we're going to send the message that you need to show up trained. But there are other people that might be like, and they've done the same thing.
And then I can't help but feel
Remember,
like
that's how Tara got to go to the Worlds in '96 because they were trying to send a message to Bobek and
I mean, yeah, it's just crazy to me because there should have been someone on the panel that was like, okay, but even on her worst day, Tanya's better than Lisa, and we need to try to secure 3 spots.
And what dress was Tonya wearing in '93? It was god awful. I mean,
she
really.
Well, I don't know that they were ever particularly spectacular.
What's really funny is if you Google, some of the Tonya fans' newsletters are available in like Google Cache or Google Cache.
Okay.
I think you'll see names of people where I'm like, oh my God, I recognize that name, of like people that were really members of the Tonya fans newsletter situation. And they definitely raised money for Tonya. And
yeah, it was tricky. So it's never not heartbreaking for me to go back and revisit.
The Tonya devotees,
yeah,
they're an interesting group. They're an interesting group of people.
I count myself partially among them. Partially.
I do as well. I do as well.
I look at you that way also, Jonathan, for sure. So.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What did I call it? The Tonya Truthers? I think I called it, yes. So.
Okay. Fair enough.
In other news, so yes, if you have the 93 NHK, I would really enjoy not getting these messages forever. So please
help everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the ISU on June 18th has decided to suspend the rules. Now, the most hilarious thing is the rationale for this. So obviously there was a lot of backlash, but they said that due to the coronavirus, they're not going to employ the new base values or rules about the jumps. Now that includes the end of rotation clarifications. Now they may issue further clarifications, although they haven't. But just like pause, okay? You're telling me that
I'm not
because rinks were closed, a Lutz is still more difficult than a flip. But if rinks were open, they would be the same level of difficulty. This shows you that this is an arbitrary argument, okay?
Yeah, but
if you believe the ISU is telling you the truth,
but they're not saying that they're just reversing that. They made just a sweeping, like, all changes, right?
Yes, including
because I do think, and riddle me this, because it would seem that in order for a lot of these people to address this pre-rotation issue, don't they have to have the time to fix it?
First of all, most of these people never going to fix it.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's very true.
Full blade assist, you don't just like change that over.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, but you also can't just change it because you want to. You know, I think it would take a great deal of time.
Remember when Mao redid her jumps? They never looked that different.
I never quite understood that. All I knew was that we just lost her consistency for a massive period of time, and we're told she's reworking. And I was like, maybe she should just go back to the way it was.
It takes.
I mean, eventually she sorted it out in the end.
Sort of. She still rotated all the time. You rewatch the Olymp.
So I mean, I love Mao, but I mean, I do think the closest triple axel she ever really gave us was that one in the free.
She had that problem, and some of it is related to hip and how your twitch related to how you do the jumps. So. And Mariah as well, they were very similar in that way. They're both very flexible, both kind of learned, that. So.
But I mean, is one to assume that they have merely postponed those rules, or that maybe there was so much backlash, especially about the flip and the Lutz separation, which again, completely nonsensical.
So they said that they're not going to go in for this year. And then they typically don't make changes the Olympic year. So.
This was a big win. This was a huge win then.
But, like, you've also already put in everyone's mind that, the full blade assist and things like that are not going to be tolerated.
Post this Olympics, it sounds like.
The judges should be kind of looking at it. It's going to be really, should there be any competitions this year? I mean, if someone does a full blade assist, I think everyone's going to, nothing will change. People will complain, the judges won't take it, some will take it, it will be the same thing as.
But it sounds like the people that need to be looking at it are the people that are looking to be competitive post this Olympics.
Yes.
They can't, so feasibly they can't justify. I mean, do you remember it was when we first started over analyzing flutzes in that period in the 90s. And it was like, is there an official thing here? Because at first it was like, it just seems like people want us to be upset by this, but it doesn't seem official. And we've talked about pre-rotation. A lot of the people in skating are like, this is more of a fan phenomenon.
Because the ISU didn't care at that point. See, the fans don't really understand that every jump does take off.
An axle is going to be partially rotated before you take off, is it not?
The Salchow, I mean, they all really take off forwards. The fans don't, I mean, they're talking about the blade and things like, I mean, it's complicated. You know, the fans do go overkill and they don't necessarily understand everything. And this is what happens when you have people that don't have 40 years of knowledge on the subject making a lot of noise. So anyway, we will see what happens with the rules. But I have to say that, so they were supposed to be 7 junior Grand Prix. 2 of them canceled. One federation wants to have a junior Grand Prix, so they did confirm that. But I have to say at this point, I think we have to really plan. And I was talking to someone who's like, well, I don't think the ISU can cancel them because, you know, the deadline is approaching for when skaters would have to withdraw or send in their rosters. And that's completely arbitrary. I mean, if you really think about
of course, that's a non-factor.
What we're learning about at least coronavirus in the US is that there are numbers that are in certain states where they never took, you know, wearing a mask and things like that as seriously. And those were the states that reopened more quickly. They are now spreading. Now, what's interesting is like the numbers in New York and things like that have also been going down. And then people started not wearing masks as much. And with all the protests going on, and then you look at people that are now on Fire Island, and none of those gays are social distancing at all. I mean, they're not wearing any clothing to begin with, so they're really not going to be wearing masks, Jonathan.
It's true.
And then you start to see gatherings of people increase. And even around town, like we have outdoor seating, which is good, but then you're like, oh, they are kind of really on top of each other. If you think about it. Like,
and are you telling me everyone preparing the food in that hot kitchen is wearing a mask and gloves and a shield? Come on, I mean, it's tricky. I took the risk here. I'm in Philadelphia, basically like my family's, if you will. And I took Amtrak. I mean, I took it with the mask, but you did feel like you're like, am I supposed to be doing this? It was like
you still do populated. Like touch the railing and
100%.
So I was listening to The Daily, the podcast the other day. I recommend it to get your news if you don't want to be watching cable news or a lot of noise without a lot of substance. Anyway, they had on economists and people that are epidemiologists that were talking about the coronavirus and what we know historically versus on the numbers and things like that. And they said that in every pandemic, if it's not eradicated, it does come back the next year far worse. So
it mutates, I would think, yeah.
And they would say that what usually happens is it goes somewhere else in the summer and then it comes back, you know, through traveling and things like that. And it typically comes back worse for whatever reason. So yeah, I don't really think that there will be much of a season, if at all. I mean, it could be one of those events where there are like 2 junior Grand Prix and then everything is closed again. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because it's going to follow some sports guidelines, but it's also following in some performing arts stuff. All of the international sort of opera houses in North America for sure have closed until 2021. Broadway is definitely not coming back until 2021. And this sort of, I don't know, I just don't know how they do all this. If it's just like cut all the Grand Prix stuff and we'll just do nationals on, but we forget, like you don't forget. I have to remind myself, I often am just looking at the top 1% of competitions. You can't just have a nationals if you didn't have regionals and sectionals.
But they will. They need to make the money.
Yeah. And that can be done maybe on more of an appointment type basis of competing.
They're going to try to have the Peggy Fleming Trophy, the Colorado competition, whatever. They're going to try to have that virtually. So
people
putting videos in. I mean, if they, you have to realize that if this season doesn't happen for skating, how are you going to qualify people to the Olympics based on spots?
Right.
Literally, we see how fast people's bodies change and their abilities. So you're going to be basing someone's competitive ability for Worlds based on 2019 Worlds.
Are you going to be doing a lot of individual test skates leading up to things? You know, when they do the Skate America TBD and they're scouting out ahead of time, like, I wonder if they're just going to have to increase that kind of scouting measure.
But I even mean for, and like, I don't, who knows about the Olympics with Simone? I mean, that is hanging on by a thread. But I think there will be books written about that in 40 years. But I do think that when you look at like the the number of spots per country, should those Olympics take place, if you think about it, they're going to be, they could, theoretically, if this season were to be canceled, they would have to go based on 2019, or they would go based on world rankings to kind of assign certain countries, because there will be a lot of pressure to make sure that certain countries have certain numbers of spots and things like that. Because the rules will be so up in the air. There'll be skaters that we're basing this on that are completely not around anymore by the time those take place. So it's all very strange because they're
that's tricky because, well, how else could the ISU kind of determine that? You can't, I suppose they can't wait until the Grand Prix, because also so many Olympians don't even show up on the Grand Prix.
I know.
Tricky.
I mean, and I just hope that these organizations are doing a lot of planning in advance. Like, it doesn't seem like the USFS is an organization with a ton of foresight, but you would hope that they are planning on ways that they could hold a nationals with maybe just the seniors and just the important ones, like holding them there for 2 weeks, you know?
Maybe there is something specifically called Olympic trials or something this year where you're not talking about all 20, you know, entries.
Where we're talking about like the realistic Olympic contenders and not.
And maybe it's by invitation only and they get to determine. I mean, you're going to have to just take some real leadership here, and it might not seem fair, but.
Because you have to think about how expensive it would be to have an event without an audience, where you would have to theoretically have people quarantined for 2 weeks before they could even compete. And that would that also mean quarantine for 2 weeks without training? I mean, that gets really tricky. You know, no one's going to be doing that.
Right.
But they should. But yeah, if you think about it, and then you're going to put all the officials there for 2 weeks, or the judges going to be judging from home, and like some of these judges are old, so you have to really think about the things that they need to be thinking about in advance. So they should really probably have those skaters there for a month so that they can do their quarantine, do their training, and someone has to pay for all that. So yeah, I don't.
And do they have the coaches with them the whole time, ripping them from all of the other students? You know what I mean? Are they dedicating that much time?
But then I thought you were going to say ripping them apart. I was like, well, yeah, yes, the coaches. Yes, we do need the coaches there for that.
Yes. But I mean, they're going to neglect everyone else. It's going to be a tough situation.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So and world points, you know, I don't know how you feel, but those overall ISU rankings and points are so silly at times. And it's going to be tricky for people like Alexa and Brandon. I
mean, that's just reality. But I think for them,
they have no points, right?
Or no points, but for right now, remember that it used to be that if you teamed up, you would get half of your points from your old partnerships. Then they would both be coming in with half. But I don't know if I don't think they do that anymore.
Wouldn't be the end of the world, actually. At least it would have them in the fray. But
I think for them, without them competing, at least you have a lot of training time to really spend together and get your technique down without pressure, right?
I think this could potentially, not that like we're grateful that this is happening, but this could be a help to them. I think because they don't have to rush.
Yeah, because I think so much of when you're rushing and you don't get things together is because you're stressed, and it might not be the best chance for real learning to take place. Whereas if you're like, okay, we have this much amount of time, we can learn.
How can you let things simmer and be organic if you've got a deadline? Yeah.
So that would be interesting. Yeah. But then when they do compete, they have fewer times to really learn how each other responds to pressure, which would mean that Jenny and Todd would have to do a lot of simulations, which they could do because they have a number of pair teams in the rink.
Yeah.
So,
well, and a number of rinks in California go travel and just do exhibitions, because there's a nervous factor, I would think, an adrenaline factor every time they're going to be seen as new now. They know everyone's going to be assessing them every time they're watched.
And they have Raphael in the rink. And if he's not going to make you feel stressed, who really could, right?
Yeah, it's true.
I mean,
fair enough. Yeah.
Just ask him to be himself for like 5 minutes. Like,
that's all you need. Your program is shorter than that.
Yes.
So
have Raphael like run your simulation. So yeah, but I think that a lot of these coaches, you really have to have like plans in advance. I do think that knowing the ISU and how these organizations will go, we will be moving along as if we're going to have the Junior Grand Prix until right before they happen. Right. And then they will get canceled. And then everyone's going to be very dramatic and upset. And then we're going to move along and be like, I don't know if we're going to have the season. So I would just, it's a tough spot to be in, but yeah. I don't know. But I have heard that Ting is skating again. Someone saw her. Apparently she's working with some sort of Russian coach. Someone saw her in Pennsylvania working with a Russian coach that was taping hockey pucks to like her wrists and stuff as she's training, I guess, to work on like posture and things like this. And really, you would do that to strengthen your arm so that you have it out in a certain way when you're skating. So
interesting. She was such a beautiful skater. I mean,
she didn't really get.
We just need her
as much. So I wonder how that.
And maybe this helps someone like her who can come back slowly from the injury instead of just redoing it. Or Shoma.
Really I don't have father at bay. You have to keep the father, paying the bills, but
what have we heard about Shoma?
Not much. I mean,
I thought someone said there was something that they knew he was going to Stefan soon, but I'd be intrigued.
I think everyone is planning to once borders open up with different countries. So I would imagine that he is going there and has been working with them over Zoom. I think he was in one of those ISU videos. I don't watch all of them for all the workouts, but I think he was in one of them. So, I mean, I think Rika and Yuzu and lots of, I think Evgeny, like they're not at the cricket club yet. So I don't even think Jason is. Jason was with his parents. So they're not back in Canada. So it'll be interesting to see what's happening.
We did read that article that talked about Samarin and Aliyev both being back on the ice and already back with their quads. We saw that.
We do see these skaters doing their quads. What's happening with Kol Yada? He had the longest sinus issue of all time.
They were really big sinuses.
I mean, I know that he had some sort of a surgery and people are gonna be like, oh, I had that issue with my sinus. It took me.
I had a sinus surgery. I was
it was the wording of it. It was the wording of the issue that seemed like it was also a
Linda Frediani level type of sinus surgery. Not that it was cosmetic, but we were not being told the whole story.
I mean, I think when you have sinus surgery, you can't really eat for 2 weeks, right? They put you on all those pain meds and they knock you out. I'm sure a lot of people would love to.
I am amazing.
You lose your muscle.
I had mine all drained and lasered and all this sort of stuff, but it was pretty quick recovery for me. Like I'm going to say 3-4 days and I was back to normal. So I wasn't doing quads, but.
So Alyssa Beckerman told me that when she was at a competition in 1998, they once saw the Romanian gymnast eating at McDonald's. And her coach told her that's called Romanian weight training. They would put on weight during the off season and then train on it and get used to doing their skills and then starve them throughout the season. That way they would be, but you're, I don't know if it made any sense. Listen.
No, that makes, I mean, it doesn't make sense, but I understand what they're saying.
Or they were just there gorging after a competition and we're going to, whatever.
Oh my gosh.
These
worlds, it's so horrifying at times.
I mean, we've heard about there were theories about athletes getting abortions before competitions for the same.
I remember this vividly. And of course, that could lead someone to have a drinking problem or not maybe be so well adjusted about their sport later in life.
Of course, these are loads of things that happen. So anyway, I don't know how we got to that. Kolyada, how's he doing? Is he skating again? I don't really think he's ever skating again, right? Has he escaped or is he back?
It'd be too bad. I really loved him.
I did too.
I remember
I feel he doesn't miss
Priscilla hated him. They're like skating skills. And I was like, I like his skating skills. To me, he skates big, great edges, deep in the knee. The programs were garbage, schlock, but like
not always.
I think we're just still so upset about Elvis. But I mean, when he did his classical lines in Carmen,
he just popped a lot. But I imagine he doesn't really seem to miss skate. When you pop that much, you're probably ticking along.
And it was interesting reading the Samarin article that it didn't even occur to me that the Russian press is on the men. They're like, how come you guys aren't as good as all the girls? And, you know, our whole story in the US was like, how come no one was good for so long and we could never get a damn world medal? And I didn't realize that it must be a constant undertone. The Phil Hirsches and Christine Brennans of Russia are like, how come we don't have male winners?
How come a Terry can't coach boys?
Right.
And they come up with lots of theories and things like that for it. But you would think that a lot of the boys all came from the Mission school. Granted, that was an era when, if you really watch Yagudin and Plushenko, they're skating on flats a lot of the time. They're doing a lot of footwork on flats. They're not doing a lot of complex choreography. I have some of the nationals. It's not the best quality coverage, but I have Russian nationals from 98 and 2001 of the ladies and the men. And Raphael had a bunch of students. And
well, he had Alexander Apt for a long time, right?
So they have, but they were doing skating that didn't really have the spins or the footwork then. So it was all Mission jumps and lots of bravado and Tarasova. You know, Tarasova really took Mission's work from Yagudin and repackaged it. And then you think about Plushenko, and then also they had Kulik and they had Urmanov and they had Victor. So they did have a lot of top men for a very long period of time, but they kind of don't have that stable male coming up with.
I mean, at least Aliev won Europeans, so you know optics are good that way. But not really a factor for that overall world's.
They're still going to be the leaders for the next team title. I don't think Canada's in any position to defend at this moment based on their. I don't think they'll be thanking Canada again following these Olympics.
Thanks anyway. Thanks anyway, Canada tour.
But I think it will be very interesting to see what happens. So Gracie has been skating. Alyssa Liu had some sort of a minor injury, someone said, but was skating and doing triple axels and things, and it didn't sound like anything serious.
And what was your take on this Trusova news?
The Trusova news that she got so Hot Sergei choreographed both programs. Expected. He choreographed and they said, of course, Plushenko says that they're completely wonderful and new and so different.
Of course.
Remember when Arena was so different, you know, she cut her hair, she lost 10 pounds, and she had a new kind of style where the dress was like longer and shredded on the bottom. And
and she flailed to like a totally new type of music. So it's like brand new.
She was very artistic.
Yeah.
And Peggy would be like, oh, she looks wonderful. She looks so much. You know, she's really holding out her movements. Long.
Is she, Peggy? What movement is she holding out, though? And do you want to see it for longer? I don't.
So I think it would be a lot of that, Jonathan. I think we're going to be fed a lot of Russian propaganda about her.
Because I want to ask you what this position that Plushenko is taking over or whatever with the national coach.
He's named a coach of the Russian team. Like
he's on a list now? Oh,
he's on a list of the national team coaches. So, but Terry said it's nonsense, which it is. And I think that they mean, and I've asked several different people about this. My understanding is that he's one of the coaches, and he's basically, the fact that he's even listed as Trusova's coach is complete nonsense to someone like, because he's not really coaching her day to day. That's Hot Sergei.
But isn't it funny? I always think that when they announce a skater's home skating club, like at nationals, and you're like, it's some childhood town that they first signed up at a rink.
The Skating Club of New York did a lot for the Hughes family. Lucy Brennan orchestrated that career. Okay,
fair enough, but like some of these people that like become such disciples of certain schools, like the Roth School in California or whatever.
When Adam Rapon is training in California and representing the Skating Club of New York, and you see the two Shibutanis representing different skating clubs, that'll tell you why people represent different things.
Yeah, okay, fair enough, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You got to think about which judge is from which club, okay?
Yeah, I was like, what kind of important information is this?
It's important, okay?
Yeah, okay, okay.
It's why all the skaters always go to the pair skaters. No one else cares about it. The Mid-Atlantic competition.
Right.
Because they always bring in a lot of high-level pair judges like Troy Goldstein, Lori Parker. They usually, different members that they will have on that panel are definitely judges that you want to hobnob with and get in the good graces with for that season. And they also do monitoring for certain teams that are requested to be there. So Mitch Mueller and Kyoko are always at that competition. So that's why it's a place to see and be seen, and you'll sometimes see.
You know who competed, as a side note, for Japan at the NHK Trophy in 1993? Rina Inoue.
Yes.
So how about that? Nice tie-in to our parents.
Wasn't she at the Olympics with them too?
Yeah, probably. One doesn't really recall the program.
One doesn't recall. Yes. I enjoy a country hopper, I have to say. That's fun. I mean, she's not one of the egregious ones. Like Navka, all the countries she represented, that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
I like when all the Russians will flip-flop between different countries. You'll see like the Soviet Union, Belarus,
Azerbaijan, Armenia,
all leads to
Ukraine. Yeah. It's true.
So, yes. So, yeah, it was so funny. One weekend, we were going to so I was, working with Victor, and then we were working, we had a training with Aliona, and then we were going to do a session with Voloshajar. And I said to Igor, yes, from now on, I just exclusively enjoy Ukrainians. And he'll be like, he called me and he was like, don't say that. Navka is a Russian citizen now. It's very controversial. If you know Russian.
Okay.
I'm like, yes, I think the people that'll sign up for this class, other than some of your very intense Russian students, no.
Are also scandalized by that information.
Yeah.
Or not.
If we didn't know that she was from Yekaterinburg, I think we will survive.
And I had forgotten that Grishuk was from Odessa.
I have not forgotten that.
Yeah. Yeah. Something I forgot until we did.
I enjoy fake blondes from
anywhere.
Great.
But especially there. Yeah.
Yes. Tatiana Gutsu. I have an interview with her that's halfway done on Patreon.
Okay.
How is she? I should message her. How is she doing? It's so interesting.
She gave you some morsels in that one.
More than morsels, Jonathan.
No, okay. They were full chocolate chip cookies. Okay.
When we talked about her teammate, how her teammate got poisoned and she left.
Checking up with the doctor. Yeah. Yeah, she said everything you needed to know. Yeah.
Also, the Was Una Rob series is now on Patreon. I figured out how to make these videos available to members on there. So because of the IOC and YouTube being so wonderful, as always, we have decided to
keep it.
And I don't understand, how come that there are like fan videos from the Olympics and people who have reposted like recent Olympics, but somehow the judging of Sochi got flagged and taken down. I'm just saying, Jonathan, that there are certain, maybe there are certain triggering.
But flagged is what? What could
gets blocked on?
I mean, what do they say? Because you're using video excerpts?
Yeah. So that's what happens. But they're
fragmented. Like,
I know, and it has no audio, and people will be like, well, why don't you put the audio when you're talking? Because things like this happen. Okay.
Yeah.
But there are people that have reposted recent Olympics who do, that one, those don't.
How is that not a copyright issue? Yeah, understood.
So I'm very curious. Who
Like always with the damn butterfly lovers. You're like, oh, gosh, it's really litigious that, you know, that copyright on that particular song. Yes, Dave. We lost Dave.
Someone texted me that they
lost Dave.
Someone texted me that they feel. I said, "Why is Delilah going to Monument?" And they said that they think that she.
You know why. You know why.
I said,
I'm just curious if someone's replacing her position at Broadmoor, and if so, who?
I hope it will be someone that has the same level of aesthetic excellence.
Oh gosh, need to hire McKinsey to find that. Okay, let's see.
Who could replace Delilah? Who would be perfect?
Like a perfect sideways move?
And I think that Miska Chunuk does a lot of work now with Delilah. But I don't think that's going to necessarily help their skating skills, because my coach always said that Natalia Miskachunuk walked on the ice. She didn't really skate. And then she would imitate it. And
I would say she almost shuffled.
And I love Natalia Miskachunuk. So,
oh, yeah, yeah.
Who could be the kind of...
Who do you think wants it? Like if you're someone like Jim, if you're someone like the Canes, if you're someone
Jim
like Mino
was
and
supposed
Sandy,
to be in... Oh my God, the Cane. Yeah, but...
Or are they happy with their setup? Like they may like where they are.
Belong in Texas, don't you think?
I think so too. So they may not even be interested in...
You know, someone that wants to self-promote, be disgustingly political. Maybe Tom and Tammy will have separate rinks so they don't have to see each other. Remember when all those coaches had those, that they posted a picture of like the 5 of them like having lunch together, like they were all going to work together. I so thought that was going to work out.
All besties, yeah. Total synergy. Yeah.
And then they all coached Vincent and it all just splintered and he's not even there anymore.
Although they got that boy a world bronze medal. So you know what? Talk about teamwork.
Did Joma get him a world bronze medal? I mean,
well, yeah, it took a village on that one, literally from their competitors as well. But
yeah, I'm trying to think of who would be. I think that Carol Heiss is far too sophisticated for. I think the Winterhurst skaters are far too sophisticated for, but it needs to be someone delusional, tacky, pushy.
Okay. Go with what you know. Go with what you know.
Snake-like political.
Okay.
I mean, Tom Z's already there. Who else could go?
But just don't do pairs. Okay.
I mean, do they have to coach pairs or are they going to just coach anyone? I mean, I think we need a special kind of individual. I'm just trying to, you know,
I know. I was like, I don't know what to even say right now without getting myself in
something
trouble.
Like really tone deaf. Like, why don't we bring in Mia Hamada and have her coach at the ring?
Yes, yes. A Terry. Try to throw all the money at a Terry and be like, can you come run our program in Colorado?
I know. How's the Terry's daughter doing? I don't know. What's going on with Spielbond?
Oh, Diana.
How is she doing?
Diana Davis is such like a rock and roll name, right?
Jonathan, there has to be someone like really spectacular. So, like,
yeah, we're gonna brainstorm and then we're gonna come up with our funniest person.
I mean,
next
like
week.
Hackensack is so uniquely special.
What about, is Barbara Rolls still alive?
Jonathan, she's too fabulous. Maybe like the Robin Wagner School of Excellence, and she could live at the Broadmoor Hotel.
Abby Lee's no longer associated with Lifetime. This seems
Abby
like
Lee
something
would be
right up her alley.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I think she has the same level of skating knowledge as Delilah. So I think that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Letovs seem interesting as well, with a lot of promotion on Instagram and some maybe questionable drills. Yeah, I think we need really top-notch individuals.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. To keep with
Marina already lives in
Florida, right?
She has too much talent, and she lives in
yeah, she would disrupt the flow with her taste. Yeah. So wait, now the question is like, so am I understanding this correctly? So like someone like Danny and Ashley would now go to Monument, or they'll stay in Colorado with a new coach?
You mean like Tara and Danny?
Tara and Danny. I don't know. Who did I say? I try to forget Tara.
You said Ashley. You're combining two teams. No, they'll be going to Monument. It's like 20 minutes away, 20 miles.
Okay. But they're like officially
20 minutes, miles. Who cares? There's actually like an old mine or something around there. Yes. So
Charming.
Yeah. I think that they will. Yeah. They'll just go to the Monument rink.
Okay.
Maybe they could find our rental car keys when we were there. Still don't know what happened. Just saying. I think.
And that's a hefty fine. That's a hefty fine. Yeah.
And there are so many shady people in skating who could be so special there. It obviously
I could see Elaine Zayak. Elaine Zayak could go take over a program.
She is Jersey through and through. Okay.
I know.
I mean, it has to be someone where there's just like dripping with safe sport intrigue.
Safe sport red flag, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Well, there's plenty to pick from in that department.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. We're going to think on this and we're going to come back to it.
You know, and the skating mothers in Colorado are so special. Because I was thinking that they could actually spread the skaters out so that they could have more room on the ice. But let's pack them in like sardines and get some sort of a coach there who's have to be especially like.
Yeah. What could go wrong?
I would like to be able to feel the sleeves from thousands of miles away. That's, I think, the ideal coach for the world arena.
Yeah, or at least it's been the standard thus far.
Why does it, Tomsy, and like, why does everyone need a method now? Like, why everyone is reinventing the wheel? Like,
exactly. All flash, no substance.
Everything's a method. Like, you're Bella Caroli, really? And
is that what you want to be? I don't know.
I think Tom Z should have a method, right?
Well, he basically does with the periodization, right?
But he doesn't even follow, okay? It's just like do as many jumps as Tom, like do 1 million repetitions, break your body.
And that in and of itself is a method. It's just not a good one.
You know, I think we need a committee of some of our favorite skating parents from Colorado who could be like the McKinsey to find a new person.
Yes, like a think tank, a search committee, 100%.
Mrs. Doe.
Okay.
Mrs. Hong would have opinions.
I was just going to say Mrs. Hong is going to be right in there.
Mrs. McDonough.
Okay.
Mrs. Flatt has a lot of opinions.
Mrs. Chin. Let's find Mrs. Chin.
Would be good. You know, she could give a Californian perspective.
Yeah, and she'll lead the group as an outsider. Yeah.
Well, I think Mrs. Flatt would lead the group.
Okay. It's her nature.
Maybe Mrs. Abbott as well. She likes to be involved.
Yeah,
and she's right there.
She's right there.
So yes, I think my mom's like, dinner is ready. You know, she is.
Yes, it is. Ding, ding, ding.
The tea is served, people. Yeah.
Exactly.
Otherwise, in other news, Yulia Lipnitskaya pregnant, and she was going to announce it on some sort of network, but her shisty former agent is the one that leaked the news. And
people be stealing everybody else's birth announcement thunder in Russia and skating these days, right?
That's what we like about the Russians. Also, I have some Plushenko news, just to remember. If you thought Yagudin was especially, winning points last week, Plushenko was not far behind. So there's an ad with Plushenko, his wife, and the son, where they are promoting Putin being the czar forever, the leader forever. And, people in Russia, sometimes they like to message us that the Soviet Union is over, but it's like semantics there. It's like over in name only, right? So I think they should all get back together, like the Jackson family and...
no, like an all-stars, all-stars.
Like Fleetwood Mac and RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars. And the Jacksons. I think that we need a victory tour and just let the republics get back together. I think that it's what they want. It's what they deserve.
They would never do it for skating because they would limit their judge to one.
They would get...
So they don't want that. Yeah, they would find a way, I'm sure of it. But in the meantime, they'd lose a lot.
Come on, Finland and Poland, we have lots of options.
Finland, which is part of Russia anyway, we've determined, right? So, great.
Yeah. So I think that would be top notch. So they're in an ad, of course. everyone always says, do you think that the baby child of Plushenko will wind up being some sort of a sociopath? Yeah.
No, I don't think that. I know that.
Yes. So there's literally an ad where they are supporting Putin forever. And why are you listening to an athlete on politics when they are some of the dumbest people we have ever met? That Yana probably put the ad together. And you know that they probably get more funding now from the government. Of course, Plushenko was named coach of the Russian national team. Hello?
Well, that's the thing, yeah. Everybody's playing an angle.
Playing an angle, okay? And he also spoke out against the real liberal guy in Russia who wants to run against Putin. That's going to wind up well for him. That's going to really go.
Oh, yeah. I think he's got a real fair chance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think people are really going to support him. I think it's going to really help them.
Yeah. Point, counterpoint. They love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember those people that like fell out of the hospital window in Russia?
No, gosh, I don't.
Yes. Okay. I think it'll work well. So yeah, I mean, and then he also said that Trusova wanted to move to him 2 years ago, but she was winning the Junior Worlds 2 years ago with quads. So I kind of think that he's full of it in that claim. I'm imagining that they had discussion.
Certainly a possibility. Yeah.
For a long time. I know he seems super authentic and honorable, and as they all do.
Above the fray, through and through. Yeah. Shame that back got pulled right before that competitive program in Sochi. Such unfortunate luck for him there.
You know, I really wish that they could have Rate My Coach the way that they have Rate My Professors, and we could just like ask the different skating moms of yesteryear to weigh in on who were their favorites.
I'm sure they wouldn't be biased at all. I'm sure they would give also a totally fair account.
I know, but didn't you? I used to look at them as I picked my classes to know what I was getting into. Okay. And I found that they were often rather accurate. You don't want to pick someone, you know, that's a nightmare. You don't want to pick someone too easy either. Unless you just want that, like, the one class, you're like, okay, well, I need a buffer for something.
Right.
It's a little hard, so don't want to tank the GPA. Anyway, who should be on the selection committee? So we have Mrs. Hong.
Right.
Mrs. Zhou.
Yeah.
Mrs. Chin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Karen Chen's mother for equipment, I think.
For sure. She's great with boot people. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mrs. Flatt, Mrs. Abbott.
Did you want to keep it Colorado? Danny Kwan has lots of opinions.
You know, I think
Danny Kwan would be like, why does anybody need a coach? You guys should just be doing it yourselves for your kids.
And they are, okay?
Yeah.
They really are. Oh, Mrs. Bobak, Yana, she's been to them all, so why not?
What about Ann Joyce? Can she just be a consultant?
Jonathan, she died.
Oh my God. So no, she can't be a consultant. Okay. Gosh, I didn't know that. I didn't know Ann Joyce had passed.
She passed, yes.
When?
Like almost 20 years ago. She had bariatric surgery and we never found out. They never explained if she and Yana really were sisters or lovers. That was the whole reason why.
I think we know. Yeah, okay.
I know, but Yana is remarried to a man. Anyway, it's all...
well, sometimes that happens. I don't get it, but...
I don't get it. You know how women are. Very fluid. You can't trust them, okay?
Oh my gosh. Anne hates
Because men in skating are really forthcoming about their sexuality.
I think so, yeah. Totally lovely. Just respectable gentlemen through and through.
Hold it, Edge, and look sexy. Everyone.
It's just like